SimplyValorant, and today we're basically going to be going over orbs within a competitive sense and how to get the most value with orbs. Here at SimplyValorant, we've been playing a lot of the closed beta. We were one of the few ones to actually be lucky enough to get in. And we've noticed that a lot of players tend to ignore the orbs or tend to get very, very little value with the orbs. So today we're going to go over how to use the orbs to the best of your abilities, how to get the most advantages with them, etc. So first things first that we need to talk about is what is a orb. A orb is a object that spawns 2 per map, and they always spawn in the same spot as the second the round starts. Okay, and it takes 3 seconds to pick them up, and it gives you 1 alt point per orb. Okay, now this right here is why you're picking up the orbs, the 1 alt point. Okay, there are 3 ways to get an alt point for those of you who don't know already. There, you can get a kill, you can defuse, or plant, and you can pick up orbs. Now, all abilities, all ways of obtaining orbs are singular in nature, so if you win a round, you don't get an orb, etc. So these are the primary ways to get orbs. Okay. Now with that, let's talk about why you'd want to get an orb. So there are some characters who don't need to get orbs to get like their full value. So like Jet would be an example of a character who doesn't really need to get her like ult. It'd be great if she did. The knives are fantastic, but Jet isn't a super impactful character when she has her ult. It's very solo in nature. However, when you take a character like Sage, for example, and you get her ult, she's going to do a lot with that, and it's going to be a very impactful ult for her to have. So you're going to want to try to make sure that Sage or other characters who have a very strong ult are getting the orbs every round. Now, we're going to be going over each individual orb and talking about places that you can be killed from and things of that nature. Okay, so here we see our first orb. Okay, so that is right here in the middle of A. Now, every orb in the game is CT or T-sided. Okay, so that means that it is easier for a CT to get it or a T to get it. This is a CT-sided orb. Okay, and we're going to see why here. So if as a T, I need to peek this entire area, and I have to peek heaven, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So, and I'm going to show you all the different places that you can be shot from. There's a lot of places that they can kill you from when it comes to this particular site. You can get jiggled out, all these different places. Now, you can put a sage wall there or smoke. That is an option as a T, and other things. So here we're going to see we're going to show you a little bit of a cheeky angle that you can use as a CT to look over smokes and look over sage walls, as well as fight for the orb if that's something you want to do. So if you put a boost wall right here, you can see down into the area below. It's a really easy way to get just a quick few kills as Sage, or to boost your teammates up for that. So be aware of that when it comes to taking this as a T. Now again, right, we see that we have to peek heaven. Heaven's a really dangerous spot to peek. And we do, if we try to take the orb late, we do have to worry about the left side as well. So we have to peek into 3 angles, which is not great. So you're going to need a lot of you're going to need to use a lot of utility to get to this point. Now, as the CTs though, all you have to do is smoke a wall off this area, and this is all you. So you only have to peek 1 or 2 potential angles to obtain the orb. Now, do note, by the way, the orbs do disappear after the bomb has been planted. Okay, so here we're going to see the T-sided orb on split. This spawns in the middle of the map right here. So when you're taking this as a CT, you have to peek this angle and this angle, which are naturally a crossfire. You don't normally want to peek into crossfires. That's how you normally die. As a T though, you can either peek just this angle or just this angle. However, they can't peek from either side, but you can just drop a sage wall right here, or you can drop a smoke here, and it's a pretty easy orb to take. However, if you're using smokes or even if you're using sage walls, I would recommend having a friend with you, because while you're in the animation of taking an orb, you're basically completely defenseless. This one has a few cheeky things that you can do with it, but it's a lot less intensive than A's orb. So again, we'll see the sage wall at this point, and we'll see the orb pickup. Again, 3 seconds to pick up that orb, +1 alt point. Nice and easy. This is the CT-sided orb on Haven. There are 2 orbs on Haven. There are 2 orbs on every map, even though this map has 3 sites. So we're gonna come out here, right? So as a T, you have to. The only reason why this is a CT-sided orb is that as a T, you need to push up way further to get to actually protect yourself, and you're peeking into more things if you try to do it like that. You're more committed. As a CT, all you have to do, run out, drop smoke here, drop a wall, whatever have you. And it's not that bad to pick up that orb. And again, orbs are so important, because if you're not getting those ults, you're going to be so far behind. Again, like you do need to only peek one angle here, but you just have to push all the way up, which is pretty bad, to be honest. You don't normally want to push all the way up. What you can do, though, is if you want to do this preemptively, you can drop like a brimstone smoke here. So this is one of the more balanced orbs in the game, but it is fundamentally CT-sided just because of how the spawns work and stuff like that. So again, I'm going to show you how to basically block off those paths, and that will keep you safe. And we'll move on to the C orb. Now, C orb spawns directly in the middle of this little room here, right? Oop, right there. And that orb is, this orb is very T-sided, because the T is literally, the spawn is like right here, and the T's are like, the CTs are all the way out here. You can just drop a smoke here or something like that to get there. As a CT, you need to push all the way out and then smoke here. It makes the map fundamentally more balanced when it comes to the orb economy, just because of how easy it is for either side to pick up both sides of the orbs, opposed to split, where the orbs are a lot more CT or T-sided, respectively. So as a T, you do need to peek a lot of angles if you're just going to straight up peek it. However, I would not recommend doing this if you're going to just go for the orb. Now, if you're going for an execute, peeking it's going to be a little bit better, because you're just going to use, you can use like Phoenix flashes, op shots, stuff like that. Something to note. If you are doing an execute and you are playing really far in the back, and your team has already taken the site and your position is nearby and you don't think they're going to rotate, it's a good time to pick up an orb while your team is planting. But I would be cautious while doing this, so you don't bait out your team and you don't kind of screw your team over. And here we're going to see, you know, just those 2 walls basically block off all paths. That being said, Jet can boost onto here, or you know, things like that. So just be aware of this angle right there if you're going to do something like this. You can put like a Viper wall right here, or a Sage wall right here, and you'll be a lot safer than if you put it like over here. Do note that. So this orb right here is a CT-sided orb, and it spawns in bathrooms. Now, that being said, when I say it is CT-sided, it is barely CT-sided. The only reason why it's CT-sided is because the CTs get to it first. I would not recommend going for this at the beginning, because it's very challenging to successfully get this without dying. The T's, also, I would not recommend trying to get this orb. The orb, picking up an orb does make a sound. It's really easy to get peeked. It's really easy to get killed. This is one of the harder to take orbs in the game. So take this one if you're saving and they haven't planted the bomb yet. Take this if you are you've already taken A and you have the time, you know, things of that nature. I would not recommend full-on committing to taking this orb. It's very challenging to take, because you have to peek into this to get most smokes around. If you have a brimstone, you can brimstone smoke this, and that is an option, or you can brimstone smoke like in there. Things like that will work. However, it's really risky, so be really careful if you try to take this orb. It's one of the more difficult to take orbs in the game. And there's just there's not that many angles. The problem is actually getting around to use your utility. So here we're gonna see one of these CT sided orbs. They can just wall off right here, and they can pretty easily take this orb if they want to. So be aware of that when you do try to push out for this orb. So they can peek you from, so CTs can peek you from here, here, inside of here. They can beat you basically anywhere on this, unless you're going to jet dash. I apologize for the high ping. Server issues. And again, we're going to see a lot of angles that you only need really one angle as a CT to pick up this orb. So this orb is very CT sided. Also, this is a good orb to pick up if you're going to preemptively rotate to try to get a flank on that teleporter. We'll talk a little bit more about teleporting and teleporting strats at a later date. But for now, just know that this is a very CT sided orb, and it's a lot easier to get as a CT than it is as a T for sure. So as a T, you can wall that off like that, and you can wall it off like that as both options for picking up the orb. So before we finish the video though, let's talk about different kinds of orb takes, because there are a couple of different kinds of orb takes. There are save orb takes, eco orb takes, and there are map control orb takes. So this is opposed to like your normal orb take where I'm just, you know, walking over, picking up my orb to go to a location, or actually I'll call that an opportunity orb take. And then I guess finally there is the just the straight up orb take where you're legitimately attempting to take the orb, and that is like your physical goal. So an example of an opportunity orb take is you have taken B, you know they're not going to rotate for a while because let's say Cypher used his little hat on somebody, and you know they're all still at A and they're going to be a while to get here. You might pick up this orb before your team plants, and that would be considered a opportunity orb. You're going to want to make sure you're looking for these opportunity orbs. Anyone can take an opportunity orb. It's not that big of a deal for anyone to take these, because that means that there isn't a player who would be more suited to take it than you. A orb take would, the only reason you would ever go for a legitimate orb take where your singular strategy when going to a location is the orb is if you're playing characters like Sage, like Viper, characters who are strongly better if they do have their ult compared to other characters. Otherwise, you're going to want to avoid taking like legitimate orb takes. The next one is map control. So let's say you as a T wanted to take map control over long so that they can't teleport and flank your team at A, right? If let's say you're playing Sage and you walled this off, right? There's no reason for you not to take the orb, so that might be an option for you for map control. Then there's eco. So on an eco, you don't have a lot to lose. So basically, if you try to go and you save, if you try to take an area or you rush an area, and you see the opportunity, make sure you pick up an orb because this is going to transfer to a actual buy round and can be pretty impactful for those eco rounds. So it is a definite viable goal. The other one is a save. So let's say you had a 4-man stack on A, you were playing B, your entire team died, and you had like an op, and you didn't want to die with it. It's a totally viable strategy as long as the bomb is not planted to just come over here, pick up the orb while you save, and use that as an opportunity to get more value than your teammates. This was Simply Valorant, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and you learned something from it. Primarily, this video is about learning how to use orbs and making sure that you're getting as much value as possible with those orbs and you're doing it safely. Remember, an orb is not worth your life in this game, CT or T, so only take orbs when you know that you're going to be safe. But if you know that, take those orbs and get every little tiny advantage, because that's what's going to lead you to that win. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nazz, and happy hunting.